I think that curiosity beats ego every time. For me, success is staying true to who I am. And if that puts a limit, I'm okay with that. And so it's being thoughtful about, okay, this really is urgent. I will take this 5:30 call versus this could wait until tomorrow morning. I'm going to ask that we do it first thing in the morning instead. It's outcomes first. What do you want the outcome to be? Think about where you want to be and how you want your life to be, not just, oh, I want the title. How do you want your life to be next year, 2 years out, 5 years out? What are the things that bring you joy? What are the things that make you feel good? Then work backwards from there.
Jessica, welcome to the Made Leader podcast. I'm so glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Jessica, for the listeners, can you do a quick intro?
Sure. Jessica Toussaint. I am a director of product management. I've been leading people for 15 or so years now. Don't make me count because I'll age myself. Okay. I have 3 kids and 2 dogs. I've got a 9-year-old and 2 7-year-olds. So it is chaos all the time. And I'm really excited to be here.
So glad that you came on to talk about being a leader and also being a parent. As a listener had questions about it, and it's been a minute since I've been in the corporate workforce, so I didn't feel like my viewpoint was accurate and current. But before we dive into the specifics, what do you think the biggest lie we tell people about leadership is?
Oh, there are so many.
Right?
It's really, really hard to pick one. I suppose if I had to choose one, I would say that you're supposed to have all the answers. I think that curiosity beats ego every time because it's a predecessor for so many other things like influencing and supporting and coaching. And so I think if you can lead with curiosity instead of the need to feel like you always have the answer on the spot, you'll be a lot better off.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. And it's particularly hard for new leaders, right? Because they feel like they've been given the title and they're like, I've got to know it all, right? Yeah. So Jessica, how would you describe your leadership style? I
hope that others would describe me as empathetic. I tend to lead heart forward with, I don't know if you know about radical candor, but I really do like that approach of heart forward honesty and transparency. I think that that's a really important place to start. And then from there, honestly, I would say my leadership style has to adapt to the team that I'm with, right? I think it's different if you're building a team versus if you're inheriting a team. I think it depends on whether you're in corporate like I am today or startups where I've been before. And so the style has to be adaptive depending on the environment that you're in. But one thing I always try to stay true to is people first and heart first. And I know it sounds squishy, but I think it's one of my strengths overall.
So it sounds like there is a core, no matter what team you lead with, you can flex to their style, but you're still going to bring that heart first radical candor as well to it. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Well, thinking about parenting, as we're talking about today, and you've got a 9-year-old and twin 7-year-olds, which is one more than me. Good job. But how has your leadership style evolved after becoming a parent? Assuming it has. Maybe it hasn't.
No, it definitely has. And I would say I discovered I have way more patience than I ever thought I had pre-children. I think it puts everything in perspective, as corny as that sounds, right? And so my level of patience at work has increased because I've had to have a different level of patience at home, right? And I also think that, if I can survive the meltdowns and getting 3 kids out the door at 7:00 in the morning for school and the 700 sports schedules and after school activities and play dates, if I can manage that chaos, right? Chaos at work just doesn't really compare. And so it's just a different set of stakeholders and a different level of patience that we're managing day to day.
I love that you call your person a different level of stakeholders. It's a 7-year-old.
Yep. Just two different types of stakeholder management. So, but yeah, I think that's the biggest difference is I think about early career me and early manager me. And as someone with ADHD, my brain is often 10 steps ahead in a conversation, right? And back in the day, it would be like, why aren't people at the same step that I'm at, right? Versus now I can use the deep breaths that I practice with my children. I can sit with a fidget if I need to. I can write down my questions as I'm going because I've tapped into different ways of listening and different ways of slowing down that I didn't necessarily have when I was younger.
Yeah. I mean, kids force you to. I mean, they don't force you to. They force you to if you're open to that, right? There's still some really impatient people and they bring that on their kids. I've definitely been impatient with my children, especially trying to get out the door.
How many shoes are missing? Who lost their water bottle?
Do you have your shoes? Where are your shoes? Got your socks? Got your snack? Yes. Checklist. You talked about early leader you. What was early leader you like? Was it how was that transition for you?
Yeah, early leader me. Less boundaries, faster moving, still heart forward, but more conflict averse, right? So didn't like having hard feedback conversations as an example. And I don't think that's unusual for new leaders, right? Figuring out how to navigate that is so uncomfortable. And it's a skill you have to practice. So I think those are some of the big differences. I think one of the biggest is, again, the boundaries and understanding how to set those in a healthy way. Whether it's work-life balance, whether it's how I set the boundaries with teams, whether it's, kind of setting the pace for how we want to work together as a team, all those different things.
And it was just something that you learned to have hard conversations over time. It was just like the practice. It was just like, suck it up, Jessica. I got to do it. Like, how did you evolve?
I think some of it's practice. I did a lot of trainings, and the trainings give good theoretical advice, right? But it's not until you use that it's helpful. I mean, and I think some of it just comes with age and maturity, right? I'm married. We have to navigate conflict and have hard conversations. My kids go to school, and sometimes we have to navigate hard conversations with teachers or administrators. And so I think, yes, some of it is training and some of it is having those conversations at work. And not to say that people that don't have kids won't have these life experiences as well. I think some of it's just maturity and self-awareness and knowing yourself a lot more in your 40s than you did in your 20s. Makes all of that a little bit easier. I will never be comfortable with hard conversations, but I can navigate them much more comfortably now than I could 15 years ago.
Yes. And you can train all day, but unless you do it repeatedly, right? And learn from your mistakes, because you're always going to say something at some point. You're like, oh, shouldn't have said that, right? and learn from that. It's part of it.
Yeah. I think that that's another really big, important piece of leadership, right? Is knowing when you've made the mistake, owning it, learning from it, and getting feedback from people that you trust around you on how to do it better the next time. Because we're all going to make those mistakes. And I've seen you post about this. I couldn't even count how many times on LinkedIn, but as new leaders, we're not often taught how to do these things. So a lot of it is trial and error. And so if you're moving into a leadership position, you've just got to be ready for that, right? Be ready. Very similar to parenting. I'm a parent for the first time. I tell my kids that, right? This is the first time I've parented a 9-year-old. Right? So I'm going to make mistakes, and we're going to have conversations about how I do better as part of that.
Yeah. And same, like your kids are completely, I don't know about your kids. You have to tell me, my kids are completely opposites. Like they're all different.
Yeah. 3 very different personalities.
What still challenges you about leadership? Like what, because I mean, I think that's also a key point. Like, no, I've never met a leader who's going, yep, this is perfect. It feels so easy. I love it. I never make a mistake. It's like, shit's still hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So politics will always challenge me. I think that I've been a sports coach ever since I was 12, right? So for me, the coaching part came a lot more naturally than navigating egos and agendas and office politics. We think of success as moving up the ladder, or a lot of us think of it that way. I don't anymore, right? I think it's a balance of a lot of different things. I think for me, success is staying true to who I am. And if that puts a limit, I'm okay with that. I think that's not going to be the case for everybody. And that's okay too, right?
It is very important about what do you want out of your career and in staying true to that. And I do think there's a piece of you always have to manage some personalities, but knowing where you want to go and what you stand for is very important as a leader. And if you don't want to play the game, don't play the game.
Yeah. And I think, for me, there's always, to your point, there's always some element of it, right? And you've got stakeholders, like you've got to manage those pieces. I think the more you move up the ladder, especially the corporate ladder, right? Those dynamics change and can become a little bit more challenging. And as someone who's neurodivergent, right, that just isn't my natural skill set. Where some people may be able to navigate that beautifully and still stay true to who they are, right? And that's okay too. And it's not that one thing is better than the other; they're just different. And I think it's about knowing where your strengths and where your weaknesses are. And for me, back to my earlier comment about not knowing everything and knowing who the people around you are that can help you navigate the things you don't know. One of the things that I find really important early in taking on a new role is who's really got the pulse on the organization and can be my gut check for some of this stuff so that it doesn't feel like it's taking up so much space in my brain. And that's how I kind of manage that.
Yeah, leverage the strengths of your team, peers, like anyone else. That's a smart way to approach it, and knowing that politics aren't your thing, right? But I think that's really a smart way to think about it. When you think of being a leader, and you've been a leader for a while, and you think about being a parent, you've been a parent for a while, right? I know for me, there's been times where I've felt like I was failing at both, right? It feels like work ramps up and I'm like, all right, kids, take care of yourselves. And then, then it's the kid thing and you're like, things are blowing up and there's teacher conferences and my kid's in trouble. And then it feels like kind of work suffers, right? I can't get everything done that I want to. Has that happened to you?
I think any parent that says it's never happened to them is full of it.
Lying.
It's happened to all of us, right? And I consider myself lucky because my wife is a very grounded human being. And so it helps, right? I mean, kudos to single parents that are out there doing the thing because she is my sanity check, right? And therapy. I giggle, but also like therapy has been huge in helping me to always stay calibrated. But yes, I think we are all going to experience that at certain times. And we have to give ourselves grace. I mean, as parents and as leaders, we have to give ourselves grace because it was Michelle Obama, right? That said, you can have it all, but not all at once. And
Mhm.
so I think as parents and as especially as mothers, we were kind of fed this you can have it all narrative. That's just not true. And it is about balance, and it's about knowing how to ramp it up in one area at one point and ramp it up in another area at another point. Um, Similar to my kids, I have 3 kids. There are 2 adults. We are outnumbered, right? And so there are days where one child needs something more than the other 2, or vice versa, right? I think the same applies. And I also think, again, normalizing mistakes, right? Because we're going to make them. I think for me, one of the most beautiful things about COVID that feels like it's slipping away a little bit now is that we saw our colleagues as humans, right? There were
Mhm.
kids on screens, there were dogs on screen, people were folding laundry or making dinner, or right, because it was this
Life.
weird, yeah, this weird environment where everything just got smushed together for a little while. But just because we don't see it anymore doesn't mean it's not still there. And
It's
so,
almost like trying to push it back. Like, doesn't happen. It feels like a reversal right now where it's like retreating from what life is and what life was during the pandemic. I don't wish the pandemic on anyone. Please know that. But yeah, it feels like it's this reversal, which is weird because we didn't stop being parents.
right,
Kids
and
didn't
we
stop
didn't stop being
existing.
humans, right? We didn't stop
Mhm.
being humans. So I think it's back to the human first. We are humans first. I'm a big fan of Brene Brown and being vulnerable around your team. And I think that if you remind them that you're a human too, it gives them space to be human with you as well.
So thinking about being a working parent, let me, before I go into the next question, shout out to single parents. I don't know how they do it. That is an amazing feat, and they should be honored for the people there. I don't know, because if I have an early meeting, my husband will take the kids, right? Or there's sometimes I can't. The meetings won't work because I need to do it instead of him. But yeah, to have a partner, it takes some of that burden off, assuming you have a supportive partner like we both do. Um, but thinking about setting boundaries as a parent, right? So, hey, sorry, I can't stay late. I can't come in early because I've got drop off, I've got pickup, et cetera, et cetera. How do you recommend that you protect family time without it hurting your career? Because that is something that can come up, right? Hey, I remember, let me just say this real quick. I came back from maternity leave, and my boss, he was good, but the thing he said to me was like, "Man, you're really knocking it out of the park. I thought you would kind of coast when you came back from maternity leave." I was like, "Jesus." So,
Thanks?
I
Question
know.
mark.
I don't know what to say to that. But there are all of these assumptions. You become a parent, and then you're going to be phoning it in, or you're going to be half checked out, right? So, how do you, as a leader, specifically as a leader, right, balance that?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for that. I think I have an answer for boundaries. I don't know.
Let's go with the boundaries.
Yeah, so let's start
What
with
do
the
you do?
boundaries. So for me, I actually block my calendar after 5 o'clock p.m. because I have kids that have standing appointments every week. We have soccer, we have basketball, we have after school activities, we have doctor's appointments, right? We try to
Mhm.
cram all of that in after school. And that doesn't mean I don't take calls after that time if I need to. It means that I've set the standard that after 5 o'clock, that's my time with my family, right? Um, and so if you accept everything as an exception at that point, then nobody's going to believe that that boundary is set. And so it's being thoughtful about, okay, this really is urgent. I will take this 5:30 call versus this could wait until tomorrow morning. I'm going to ask that we do it first thing in the morning instead. Um, and so it's about being clear about what the boundaries are and being clear not just with your leaders, but also with your team. So I set that boundary. I also am an early morning person. And so I know that I might sign on at 6 a.m. before the chaos of the day, right? Or 5 a.m. when I wake up, answer some emails or do some work. And if I do that, I always put in the email, I do not expect a response from you, outside of your working hours, so that I'm kind of reinforcing that with the people around me, right? I think I even have it in my footer baked in of not everyone's working hours are the same, and that's okay. Respond to this when you're in the office. So I think it's important to set the boundaries up front, be clear about what exceptions you make and why with the people that you make them for. What I don't have a good answer for is how that affects your career development, because I do think that there is very much still a grind culture here, right? And I think it really depends on the organization in the United States, especially. So back to our kind of earlier conversation about how you define success, right? I think that that will weigh into what you choose your boundaries are and how you decide to get there. I'm a product person, so I'll take the product mindset approach to this. It's outcomes first. What do you want the outcome to be? Is the outcome that you want that next promotion in the next year, 2 years? Is the outcome that you want balance between work and your family? Is the outcome that you're willing to take a longer path to the next step while your kids are young and maybe ramp it up as they get a little more independent? But think about where you want to be and how you want your life to be, not just, oh, I want the title. How do you want your life to be next year, 2 years out, 5 years out? What are the things that bring you joy? What are the things that make you feel good? What are the things that bring the right energy, right? That don't drain your energy, that actually give you energy? Then work backwards from there. Because I think that when you're in a leadership position or you're moving into a leadership position, it's very easy to get hungry for the next thing if we don't think beyond next thing is the next promotion, right? What is the next thing is much more comprehensive.
Yeah, there's so many ways I want to go here. But one of the things that I was thinking of when you were talking was I remember, so I worked in corporate. I'm trying to think of how old my son was when I left. He was maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know. It's all foggy. But I remember being in, and he was in daycare. Of course, I worked full time. And I remember talking to a friend who had older kids, and I was like, I just feel like I'm not spending time with my kids, and I want to, and it's talking about maybe later they'll kind of be more independent. So that's what made me think of it when you said it. And she's like, Jen, as they get older and they're in school, think about it. They've got sports. They need more help. They need more guidance. And that kind of reframed it for me. I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, this is like an 18-year commitment and beyond. And then I know a lot of parents who have kids away at college and they're in their 20s and they're still parenting, right?
Right.
So I just think it's really interesting how parenting also evolves. And there's times maybe they need you less because I'm seeing some of that independence a little bit more now that Ben's 12, but you still need it, right? They still need your guidance. But another thing I was thinking of is when you were talking about boundaries, I will occasionally take a phone call or after hours. How do you determine what is urgent enough to say it's an exception?
So many factors. One is who's asking for it, for better or worse. That does weigh into the equation. But more than that, it's really about what will the outcome be if I don't take this, right? So in my world of product, if something's broken, if I don't take this right now, what's the impact for my customers, my stakeholders, my team, right? And really thinking about Is that impact going to change in the matter of 12 hours? And if the answer is really yes, right? If there really is going to be a bigger, badder impact for the people around me in 12 hours, then that's the exception. But if in 12 hours that impact is not going to change, then I need to think really hard about whether it's appropriate to take it.
That's good advice, thinking about the outcome. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty here. How do you say no?
Oh,
It's a skill.
Again, it depends. It depends on who
Okay.
I'm saying no to. I think before I say no, sometimes curiosity and asking questions first is really important, because sometimes people can say no for you, right? So instead, I may have already assessed the impact in my mind, but I'll reach out to whomever scheduled the meeting and say, what's the impact? If we don't do this right now and we instead pick it up at 9 a.m., right? What is the impact there, right? And sometimes that's enough. So you don't have to, no without saying no. But sometimes it's just a very clear line in this, again, honest and transparent to a fault. And it's a very clear line in the sand of, I understand that this feels really important, but I have a commitment with my child, and that comes first. Either we can talk about this after that commitment, or we can discuss it first thing in the morning. I think giving options is always good as well. Most of the people around me know I don't prefer to be on a phone call at 7:00 at night, but
who does?
But right, if you're trying to get me on the line at 5:30 and I'm about to walk into something with my kid, and it feels that urgent to you, then I will do it. I also think how I respond depends on what the meeting is about, right? Is it about a work-related thing? Easier, believe it or not, to say no to than is it one of my team members that really needs support for something? Because it's harder to assess impact on an individual's emotions, well-being, etc., than it is, oh, we've got this bug that we have to address in the system, or we've got this stakeholder issue we have to talk about, right? Those, I think, are a little bit easier to boil down rationally than I've got someone on my team and they're really worried about this fire drill that somebody pulled for something, and they just need a little bit of moral support.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, those are harder, and honestly more likely for me to make an exception for.
Heart forward. So
better or worse.
Well, and these are exceptions; they're not the rule, right? So it's going to happen. That's life. That's work.
Right.
So you can't, because there are some people like black and white, we are not going to do it. But as you get higher in an organization, the more likely those are going to come up, the situations that you have to navigate. So I think it's important to talk about.
Yeah. And I think it boils down to presence, which is also, we talked about younger me, something I wasn't always good at. Again, ADHD brain, I've got 100 tabs open all the time. And for me, being present is a skill I had to practice over and over and over. And it's still one I practice, right? It's not one that comes naturally to me. And so, again, as we become leaders and as our leadership level changes, I think it's really important to dial in that presence wherever you are at that moment. So maybe I am going to make that exception. And the boundary is I have 10 minutes to be here fully present with you, right? Or maybe I've got a sick kid at home who is really whiny and not feeling good and doesn't love that mommy has to be in meetings while they're laying in bed. Okay, kiddo, I have 10 minutes where I'm going to lay here and snuggle with you and just watch TV. And I know it's not a lot, but I have 10 minutes between these meetings and I'm going to take it. And so it's really being intentional with the moments where we can, and having the boundaries, but being intentional is a big part of it as well.
Well, speaking of that, just made me think of the transition, right? You work from home and it's hard to transition. I don't even care. Well, I think it is harder when you work from home because there's not the ritual of I'm packing up a desk and I'm driving and you have that time to decompress. So how do you make sure you turn on that presence? Because it's hard. It's hard both ways, right? You're bringing personal stuff in. You're bringing work home mentally, right? So is it just trying to get yourself present before? Do you have any rituals or anything you do to decompress to transition?
I do. So I used to have my computer in a common area, and it's not anymore. So that's a big one for me. I legitimately shut the screen. So it is closed when I am done for the day. I usually try to step outside with my dogs, even if it's just sitting in my backyard for 5 minutes. And that's my demarcation of I'm moving from work into home life. I think I've gotten pretty good about shutting the computer down at home. The harder thing for me is that everything is on my phone. And your phone is with you all the time. And so I started a practice this year of after a certain time of day, I use one of the focus settings on my phone is set to personal, and it blocks all work notifications. So Microsoft Teams, Outlook, right? Anything Slack related to work, those notifications get blocked after a certain time of day. And if you need to reach me, you'll have to text me. Right. So it really does have to be urgent enough that you will text me after a certain time period, because I would find myself picking up my phone and going, oh, no, wait, I can't deal with that now. I'm with Kai, I'm with Rumi, I'm with Mahalia, I'm cooking dinner, right? So that was a trickier one for me than stepping away from the computer, because I could create space between myself and the computer, but not as much with that phone.
Yeah, and you don't even realize it. Sometimes I'll just grab it if I just have a spare moment, and like before I know it, I'm in my email. Like it is really, I think, I love that you have that. That's a smart barrier.
My kids were the trigger. One of my kids said to me, "Mommy, you're on your phone a lot," one day, and it was such an ouch moment, because we talk as parents all the time about screen time for kids and how they shouldn't have too much. And we have these conversations with our children who would love to be on Minecraft for 24 hours a day, right? Where it's like, you've got your 30 minutes in the morning, you've got your 30 minutes in the evening. So for them to turn it around, oh, they're such mirrors, to turn it around and be like, but mommy, you're on your phone a lot. And my answer was, you're absolutely right. And that's for work. And I will figure out how to do better. And it was taking feedback as much as giving feedback is part of leadership and parenting
goes both ways.
I had to take that feedback and try to put something in place. And don't get me wrong, there are still days where maybe I have to sign off early to bring my kid to an appointment. And so, yeah, I'm on my phone while we're sitting in the waiting room. Right.
Yeah.
But I try to communicate about that now, or I'm taking a meeting in the car. I pick you up at 3:00 because you have a doctor's appointment. I need to be on this phone call because my work time goes until 5:00. So this is not typically your time. So I try to communicate it as well. Sometimes I do a good job. Sometimes I don't, but I try.
Yeah. There's nothing like kids to call us out. I mean, they'll call us on our stuff. It's bothersome, but so important to have that mirror.
It is. Nobody will tell it to you how it is like your kid.
God, no kidding. No kidding. It's a little too much sometimes, but that's okay. Like you said, feedback, need to hear it both ways.
Yep.
So, Jessica, if you were talking to an individual contributor who is a parent who's like, I think I want to get into leadership, but I'm a little worried about this whole parenting leading thing. What advice would you give them?
Oh, I would say the first thing I would say is that if you're actually worried about it, you're already doing better than you think, right? If you think that you can be a rock star at both all the time, then you're in for a really, I hate the word rude awakening, but I can't think of a better one at this point, right? You're in for a rude awakening because it is hard, right? It is hard and it is doable. Um, I'd go back to what I said earlier, which is when you think about why you're stepping into this role, what are the things that are important to you about it, right? If you're considering leadership, how does that enhance your life? Not just the people you'll be leading. How does it enhance your life? Because I think another lie we tell leaders, right, is that it's all about the team and you have to sacrifice yourself for the team. And there is an element of truth to that. And you can't lead well if you're burnt out. You can't lead well if you're pouring from an empty cup. You can't lead well if you're not doing things that bring you joy and energize you. And so as you're stepping into this role, what are the pieces of it that feel energizing, right? How does this fit into the bigger picture of your life? And if the coaching, if the management parts that nobody talks about, those administrative fun tasks that nobody actually likes doing, don't weigh you down too much, right? If you can find the places where that is going to bring you energy, then absolutely do it, but be aware of where you need to set the boundaries for the other parts of your life that bring you joy, for the other parts of your life that bring you energy. And know that some days it'll be the work and some days it'll be the life, right? The balance doesn't mean that it's 50-50 all the time, right? Great. If it's 50-50 part of the time, that's amazing. More often than not, it's 60-40, it's 30-70, it's 90-10 on some days, right? And that's okay too.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And like you said, if the person's asking this, they're already way ahead of the game, that they're thinking about this. So
Right.
good advice. Well, Jessica, where can people find out more about you and connect?
They can go to my LinkedIn page. I am on LinkedIn at, I should know this. I think it's J Toussaint 12. And I am always looking to, that's how we connected. I'm always looking for people to connect with. Again, people first. It's all about connections, both in the real world and in the interwebs.
The interwebs. Yes, I'll link that up in the show notes so people can find you.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. All right, I'm just trying to think of editing. Hold on. All right. But before we close out, Jessica, are there any additional thoughts or comments, maybe something I didn't ask you or something you want to leave the listeners with?
Sure. I think for new leaders, and I mentioned this earlier, but I want to say it again, give yourself grace, stay curious. Don't think that you have to get it right all the time. Instead, be curious about the things you get wrong, because that's how we grow. That's how we get better, is moving through that discomfort. And there is a lot of discomfort in the early leadership days.
Yeah, it's all in part of learning, right? And getting
Right.
curious is, I think, the theme throughout. So, Jessica, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.